Okay, I'm going to call to order a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Today is January 19th at 5:30 p.m. Good evening. No, can't put two glasses on, folks. Okay. Bear with me as I have everything open. The first item on our agenda is present to speak. Is there anyone from the public not on the agenda present to speak? And I don't think so. I believe, Richard, you're going to speak to your budget item.
Yes. Can
Okay. Yeah, so you want to, well, when you present your budget, we can speak then.
Okay, I'll just mute myself now and just let me know.
Thank you. All right, so seeing as we have no other public on our meeting currently, I'll move on to the next item, which is a budget workshop. And first up, we have animal control. Donna, do you know if Tina had planned to attend?
No, she didn't let me know either way.
Okay.
I did send her the invite, Erica.
Okay, I didn't hear from her, so let's, if no one's opposed, I'll move on to the historic district and give Tina an opportunity to come on. Liza and John, if you're okay with that, and Loki, if Loki is okay with that.
I need Tina because I have an animal that needs to be controlled. He's in his evening zoomy bitey phase and driving me crazy.
Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here. The if I get the right packet open. Okay. The historic district budget is in the selectmen's budget. So in your packet, in the selectmen's budget, those expenses are, apologize, I am going to rotate this so that I can read it upright. Okay, and the selectmen's budget under commissions, 111,300 in that line item currently this fiscal year and prior was set at $100. And we have received a request from the chairperson of the Historic District Commission, Rosa Chinchilla, for a $500 request this year. So I think you all received in your packet her explanation of that line item along with her request along with Donna's explanation. And Richard, I'll give you the opportunity to speak to that if you would just want to identify yourself for the record.
Yes, Richard Mueller. I live on the Green 5 Common Road, and I'm the husband, actually, of Rosa Chinchilla. And she's teaching a class right now, or she would be present. At any rate, I'm representing the Historic District Commission, and we have had several meetings recently. And the reason we're asking for an increase in the budget is that we need to occasionally deal with certificates of appropriateness for people who have houses on the green that want to do special things that they need our permission to do. And it cost $150 for these certificates of appropriateness. And it turns out that this year there are 2 different certificates that will be required that we will have to deal with in the near future. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason that we want to come before you and ask for some larger line item budget is that you notice that there are 12 houses or buildings in the historic district on the green, and they have, some of them have dates or plaques on the buildings identifying the date when the building was built. And we have decided that since some people have taken these down, that we would like to replace these plaques or these signs on these buildings. And it would cost maybe, I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost, but it would be we would keep it at the minimum. So we would like to put new plaques on all the buildings of the green if we could, giving the person who built the house, the person who was responsible for building the house, and also the date when it was built. And we have seen a model of this from Salem, Massachusetts. My wife, Rosalena, could send you could send you a picture of this particular um, plaque. But we will need some extra money in order to make these signs and place them on the houses. And that's what we would like to do in the near future. And it seems to me that it would be worthwhile doing because it's sort of both alerts people in the town to the fact that these are historic houses and when they were built, and then also new people sometimes move in, and it helps raise the significant importance of the Historic District Commission for people who would like to do things in their house and are not aware of it so much. I think I've covered what I wanted to say, but I would certainly answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. And for historic purposes, I have budgets that I've kept here in my office going back to the 14-15 fiscal year. So the last time this commission came to the board asking for an increase was in the 14-15 year. And at that point, the budget line item was $3,027. Does that sound about right with the time frame in which you would have renewed all of those signs, maybe?
What was the $3,000?
It was in 2014, 2015 budget fiscal year.
They were asking for $3,000?
Yeah, and so the budget was for 3,027 and 2,900, just over 2,900 was actually spent in that fiscal year.
I myself do not know why that money was spent or why they asked for the money at that time. And if you have information, I'd be interested in knowing what.
I wondered if that was when you originally put a lot of those signs, where if maybe you did a larger bulk purchase then. So it's not as though this line item is increased annually. It's, we're now into our 21-22 budget, and there has been no ask from the commission since 2014, 2015.
Yeah. What has happened occasionally, we will have certificates of appropriateness, and they will be covered by the line item, but also by money obtained from other sources through your office. So
Sure.
Necessary.
John?
These signs, white signs with the date in black.
Yeah.
On wood. Okay, I believe Harold Weigold made those signs and donated them, and that was way back.
Yeah.
Way back. I don't know I don't recall the $3,000 or why it was that.
I don't either.
I did have another question though on the certificate of appropriateness. How does this work? What is a certificate of appropriateness?
Well, I know that of the ones that have happened recently, across the street, Chad Smith wanted to put a tin or a metal roof on his garage, and for some reason he had to come to the Historic District Commission to get permission to do that, and so he needed to file a reason for making this change and why it was something that he thought that would be appropriate and okay to do according to the guidelines, let's say, from the Historic District Commission.
Right.
And there have been other let me see. I know. When the I say the tavern, but when the people at the Historic Society decided to take the Williams House and put a sign in front, they had to get a certificate stating, they had to give the justification for putting up the sign, and then they had to file this certificate with us, and we had to approve their plan for doing their sign.
Okay, I think my question though is, it's what, $150 for a certificate?
Oh, one of the things that happens, I'm not all that familiar with it, but as I understand, in order for this to come before the commission and in order for this decision to be made, it has to be advertised in the newspapers. So the $150 has to do with making sure that the public is notified of this desire to change something in the house. And I guess, I don't know why it costs as much as $150, but I would imagine that whatever newspaper is going to publish this, that's the going rate.
That answers the question because
Yep.
the newspapers they have a racket going
Yeah.
with this. And so I can see where that has to come. And it is being paid out of the, so you're not charging the homeowner for this, right?
That was a section.
No.
No, okay, then I'm cool with it.
Donna, I don't know if you meant to be unmuted and talking. Did you want to add something?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
The monies that you found in
Mhm.
2014 has to do with Section 8. It was
Okay.
a one-time payment to the town of Mansfield, an
Ah.
administrative fee for Section 8 housing,
Okay,
and it just happened to be put into that line item.
perfect. Thank you. I thought maybe they had done a lot of work on some homes in that year.
Yeah.
But either way, my point was
Actually,
that
no.
it's not, this isn't a typical ask. They don't come to us with something every year. It seems as though when they need something, and again, that advertising cost, John, as we've talked about numerous times, can be costly depending on the newspaper of choice. And it's another item that I believe is going to be taken up at the legislative level, but we will see, right? We'll see how things get cut back potentially still during COVID times. Liza, did you have any questions or comments regarding that particular request?
Nope.
Okay.
Once you mentioned that the $150 was for the newspaper piece of it, that made perfect sense to me.
The light bulbs start going off, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I assume there was some sort of requirement or reason for doing that, but
All right. Just pulling back up here. Okay, we'll go back to the previous item, which was the animal control line. So I see Tina has joined us now. Tina, you should be able to unmute yourself.
I am here.
Hello.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. So we received your request. It looks like you're asking for a slight increase over last year, and that included a 2% wage increase. You want to go through any of the
The
other
norm had
items?
been. So I
I'm
was just
sorry?
following suit.
Right. So typically what we've done, Tina, is moved everyone in the same direction. We are negotiating a contract this year, so we do not have a set percent that we would be looking
Okay.
at currently as we'll be negotiating. So
Okay.
we have been coming in at 0 with all of
Okay.
those and then would adjust after any negotiations
Okay,
are
that's fine.
necessary. But that
And
along
the
with
only other thing I changed was the dog warden fees went down. The last 2 years just haven't had the amount of quarantines that we've had in the past to bring in that income.
okay.
That's because that's from boarding fees. So if we have dogs that just come in and go right back home, it's only $15.
Okay.
So if we don't have the quarantine to actually pay the $15 a night boarding for 2 weeks, I just can't make it up.
Okay.
So I just brought that back down to, match a little better.
Sure. And
Everything
then
else stayed the same.
training, the only other thing, so you had three line items that were increased, dog warden wages, along with the payroll benefits, those go together, and then $20 in training.
Oh yeah, the training went up $20 because the cost of the online program went up
Okay.
$19.
Hey, we thought online would get us a bargain. So it is a minimal increase if we really would be looking at the $20 if depending on what the wage increase will be. I will tell you, and Tina's aware of this, and I know I've mentioned this to the board in previous years. I'm once again in talks with both with the town of Tolland about sharing an ACO. Tina is part-time with Tolland, part-time with us, and looking at taking on, potentially taking on Ashford. So what the three towns are looking at is the potential to form our own smaller region and share a resource, which would potentially mean an increase in instead of a 20-hour a week, a 40-hour a week employee with benefits. And then the towns would either share that cost, or we would purchase a service similar to what we do with our building official from the town of Tolland. And there could be some potential savings for us. I just had this conversation this afternoon, and I had an opportunity to look at some of the numbers. We haven't really worked out the nitty-gritty details, but if you recall, last year Tina went before Board of Finance with her budget and asked for an increase to, and this may be new to you, John, an increase to TN, right? So now we use the TN communications program so that they monitor animal control calls similar to how they would fire calls. So Tina's no longer out at a call and no one knows where she is. So it's dispatched through TN, and that came at a charge, and that included your radio as well, Tina, correct?
Correct. And I'm sorry, I got kicked off the meeting, so I missed all of
That's
that. until
okay.
just
Sorry
now.
about that. So, so that's currently we spend 3,500 on that service. There's a potential, if the three towns are together and have one staff member, that we wouldn't each need to pay that individual cost to TN. So I don't know what the exact savings are. I can tell you what we spend, but we haven't figured out if that's where we'd be able to save. So I think there could be some savings to the town, to all three towns, in combining forces. There's a bigger opportunity to get grant funding because we could be a region, and there are grants that encourage you to do so. It would also, Tina receives a lot of training out of Tolland and some resources out of Tolland that we haven't been able to afford her here in Willington, in safety gear, et cetera, which then would carry over. There may not be a need for a vehicle in Ashford and or Willington. We could repurpose that vehicle here in Willington for other things. So I think there could be a savings. Again, I'm just starting to take a look at this, but I think within the budget that we have, we might be able to look at a newer model. It would mean using our pound facility, as Tolland's facility is in major disrepair. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Tina?
Yeah, Tolland's building is a 1960s, early 70s model, and it just has structural roof damage and things. So over the last year or so, we've been looking at other places we could potentially just board our animals. I would still have an office in Tolland, I believe, but just to board the few animals that we get. And so if we were to merge the towns, I think that we would be looking at Willington has the better shelter than the three towns combined. And I think there's plenty of room down there. None of the towns take in a lot of animals long-term anymore, like they used to. So I think the 8 kennels and 4 cat cages would be more than enough.
And what it would give us is an opportunity to look at capital planning over the course of the 3 towns to our facility. So it would be mutually funded by both towns if we were, if we go in this direction. So it's something that we're working with the town manager and for Selectmen's office in Ashford and Tolland on. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there for the board. But again, if I think within the dollars that we have, we could probably see a different model that would be a better service for our residents as a whole.
I think it would be, I truly think it would be beneficial because you wouldn't just be relying on one person 365 days a year.
Right.
We'd have my other part-timer here in town to cover when I'm not around. And, or if we have a case where we need 2 people, I have backup and don't have to rely on, a firefighter or a trooper or somebody who's not even trained to do what I'm asking them to do.
Correct.
So.
And so the opportunity to receive grant funding to offset some of these costs, and specifically any shelter needs and capital would be significant. And Talent has not been able to do that on their own even. And so they've approached, this isn't the first time they've approached Willington about this. And we, you know, had these conversations, and now we're bringing Ashford into the conversation. So the quick numbers, again, I just got to look at them late this afternoon. Looks like we, you know, I think we could do this within the budget that that Tina is proposing, with, again, better resources, but I have a few questions for Talon, so we're working on that. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Any questions regarding the animal control budget? Liza says no, except she may need some control with that animal, Tina.
I apologize. My
Uh-oh.
attentions have been distracted. He's been peeing on the floor nonstop for the last 20 minutes. So.
John?
No, I'm happy with this. You know, I'm always skeptical about regionalization though, but that's something to talk about in the future.
Sure.
Just thought I'd put that in.
Yeah, no, I
We're
agree.
already
There
kind
are
of
pluses and minuses.
quasi-regional with her.
You what?
We're sort of quasi-regional with her anyways, just not
Correct. And I think we're
well
all
planned.
right.
Quasi.
There is an increase now because, again, you're going from part-time to a full-time, and that includes a big benefit shift. And so that's the downside. But if you're pooling your resources, I think you have an opportunity for the towns to be spending similar dollars and getting a little bit better an option for our citizens. And I think it sets us up in the future. Again, the bonus with this, John, in sharing those resources, that Talon has some resources that we don't have, right? So they currently have a grant writer on staff over there that we don't have at our disposal here, that could really facilitate some funding to a regional shelter that none of us on our own have the opportunity to. So this isn't something we've approached lightly. It's not anything we're done. I apologize. Not anything that we're at the point of, you know, signing on any dotted line with, but it has been in the works for a couple of years. You know, I spoke with Steve Wervner several times about it. And so the plus for us is we wouldn't be abandoning the shelter in our town. We'd be utilizing it. So if something were to change and we went in a different direction, we still have our facility. And
yeah, well, like I said, this is an issue that's going to come up in the future. And I think the current night, we're talking about the budget, and I think our budget will cover that because we're not going to do it next week, or maybe it'll be sometime in at least a year before this got done. So I think I'm very satisfied with her budget proposal tonight.
Great. All right, if no other questions, I will move on to the Eastern Highlands Health District. If ever there's a year our health district is putting our dollars hard at work, it is a year of a pandemic. Thank you, Tina. I apologize. It is this year. They certainly are understaffed and overwhelmed for sure. Have been able to utilize some federal funds to set up some staffing to increase contact tracing and such. The budget for Eastern Highlands this year, and I don't see the numbers in your packet, came in at $34,540, which is a 3.2% increase. And that represents a $1,070 increase. And the majority of the drivers to that budget increase were salaries. Their salary expenditures, an increase of 4.8%, the benefits of an increase of 5.4%, and a 2% increase in medical insurance. And so the total town contribution increase was 3%. This budget is not finalized at Eastern Highlands. There's a public meeting, budget hearing Thursday, but that number is an increase of 1,070. And I could tell you, I believe they would be underfunded for sure, if not for some federal dollars this year. Any questions on Eastern Highlands Health District? None. All right, we will move along to the finance. So attachment number 2, and I will let Donna speak to her department increases or budget.
Thank you, Erica.
Hi, Donna.
There's 3 line items: accounting, software support, professional development, and office supplies. So the maintenance on the new software is increasing 6.2%.
Okay.
So that number, $25,993, is from Tyler Technologies for next year's software package. And the package includes a database for the town and a separate database for the Board of Education. The town database has 2 connection groups off of it, a connection group for the library and a connection group for the ambulance. The software has a core accounting package that we use in the finance office, and it has a web portal that Erica and Heather and the remote users are using. We have a human resources module and fixed assets with that. And all of it is going to cost $25,993 for next year.
Okay. Does that include, so the training and education, Donna, I see that that's increasing as well. Is that include any training on the new software?
Yes,
Okay,
one
good.
day remote with a consultant on the new software is $840.
Wow. For one person or for your entire staff?
So, as you could have more than one person on the call, but it's usually something that is, if it's payroll, then maybe only Amanda is on the call, or
Okay.
if it's general ledger, it's only me. But I mean, everybody could get on and listen and learn. But anyway, it's one consultant for one 8-hour day. So that's what the $840 represents.
Okay.
The last item is office supplies, and office supplies consist of tax forms that we purchase, for example, W-2s, 1099s. We purchase check stock and microtoner for printing the checks, and we purchase envelopes. And any little extra we have, we use for file folders and miscellaneous things like that.
Okay. I see that it's flat, Donna, at 2,000. Was that your
Yes.
intention? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. So my only question is that this has certainly been a challenge. Nobody wants to change. We certainly don't want to go through an accounting software change again. It's a lot to learn, and you were certainly in a challenging setting with the pandemic happening at the same time. So my only question for you is that enough dollars for training and education for you and your staff?
Well, I hope it is. If it's not, I will come back and ask for more.
Okay. So as you can imagine, John and Liza, not having someone hands-on made it a much different process than I think anyone had anticipated. And our department being the small size that it is, hasn't allowed for the setup of all of the pieces of it. They're certainly making, progress. We hope to be using different additional features next year. But our staff has to learn how to use that before they could teach the staff how to use it. For instance, there's a budgeting piece to that, which we could use to build our budgets, which would take some work off of Donna. But until she has the time and the resources to get that down to be able to then teach us, it's a challenge. And so that would be my only concern, is that you not have enough professional development with that software. John or Liza?
I'm satisfied with it.
All right. Donna, this brings us to, another conversation about, is the current makeup of your office still enough to maintain financial support for both the schools and the town.
Yes, I think it is.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Donna? Well, on her budget anyway. Okay, that brings us to our last, but we still have some time, and our last budget, which is the Selectmen's Department budget. So you'll see the budget presented to you, which includes the Historic District $500 request in there, is currently with salaries maintained where they're at now, a decrease of 4.4%. And the majority of that is a personnel change. So between our previous admin and our current admin, those dollars changed. You can see we did not add increases at this point because we're going into negotiations. I did once again, and I highly suggest we think about this. The cell phone, currently the cell phone for the first selectman's office is a stipend. It's not enough to cover a cell phone. I think the cell phone should belong to the town, be the property of the town, and the town should fund that in whole. So when I leave, this phone is mine, it goes with me. So does all of the resources that are there and available. The person that sits in this office is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week contact, depending on whether it's the state police reaching out to you or is the weather issue or tropical storm. You never know what could be needed here. And so I think it's, we pay for a cell phone for our animal control officer, we pay for a cell phone for public works director, and those items stay with the town. They are town owned. And I, once again, have increased that line item asking for the town to provide that. And it doesn't, it goes with the town. The other increases, that was the only other increase besides the commissions increase. Everything else was left flat.
Do we have a company that we're obligated to purchase our cell service from?
We're not obligated to. I can tell you that the other two cell phones that the town pays for are through Verizon. So there is an opportunity to save with the other two contracts and maybe upgrade some of the data charges on those by bundling them together. They are two separate contracts. They are not bundled together. And the last time I spoke to the representative at Verizon, and I think that would give us the better service, Verizon or an AT&T. Want to make sure we have better coverage for all those folks as they drive about town. There was an opportunity for savings. So this line item could be a little bit less, while maybe ACOs went up a little bit more and public works, they could even out. So you might see an increase in one and a decrease in another. So there is an opportunity to save by bundling those services together. Again, they are two individual contracts currently.
And this would be the third one.
Correct.
Well, I do agree with you that it would be, the smart thing to do would be to have the town own that phone.
Mhm.
So I might want to look into bundling, but for the time being, I think that's a good move to put it on the budget here, as you did.
Okay. And I have some dollars in this budget this year. We could certainly move in that direction even now, sooner rather than later. If we could save some money on what's left in the fiscal year for the other two phones, you keep the same phone number. We'd have the opportunity to keep the phone number that I've attached to this phone currently. And it wouldn't go with me, it would stay with the phone, right? So I'd use that number, the number that's currently, it's my phone I purchased, and right now the number's on an account that I own. But if we were to start one up, I would keep this phone number, and so it would stay then with the town. You can transfer a phone number, John?
I know you can.
So we could start a new one. I'd still keep using the same phone.
You would
and
start a new one, and we'd make that one public. And
right.
then,
Well, currently, Erica, I think currently you are using you have your personal phone and then you have a
Correct.
phone that you purchased on your own.
That is correct.
So this is not her personal cell phone,
It is my
That she-
personal cell phone, but I use this
but it's
phone
not your
only for
personal
business.
number,
I
Correct.
was
right?
not aware of that. I thought you were just using your own personal.
No, she went out and
I
bought a
had no
second cell
desire,
phone.
John, to mix this kind of business with my personal. I think it's a big ask for anyone,
Yeah,
for sure. So no, I have two.
Okay, so you,
I used an old phone so that it didn't cost me anything for an actual telephone.
right, so now, okay, that makes, sense. And I still think
So-
that,
Yeah, so if we move forward, I would then keep this actual phone, would just
Right.
stay here. And the number would stay exactly what it is. It's a separate number from my personal phone.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing is, and like people can do bargain shopping later if this comes to it, but I have Spectrum Mobile and it's $45 a month flat fee. And it uses the same towers as Verizon.
Okay, that's good to
So-
know because the coverage is really what I concern myself with.
They use the same towers as
Okay.
Verizon. So it will be whatever Verizon services, but at a fraction of the cost. So if we're going to be doing this, I use it now myself. So I would recommend it for all of the phones. It would save us a few $100
Well, that would
a
be good.
year.
Yeah, if we can save, I think it's the right move, but I think it's time we bring ourselves into this century. And, on the day a potential new administration is sitting here, they have the context that they need. They need to reach Public Works. There's the phone and the Public Works phone number. You can reach your Public Works director immediately. You need to reach your animal control officer. You have that. You need to reach out to, the different towns and the different contexts that are there. So yeah, it's strictly set up for that currently. So that is the only increase in this again. So we're seeing a 4.4% decrease in this particular budget, which represents $6,771. So look at us go. All right. Any other questions regarding the? Oh, I will speak about the last item in that budget is our CCM and CROG dues. You'll see that they're staying the same. Neither of them increase their dues for this year. And I will say that both CROG and CCM are working, especially CCM, working overtime for our municipality during COVID. The things that they have extended to us have been tremendous. They have offered printing services that they normally charge for at no cost to us. So if you're driving up to the transfer station and all those big signs you see, or the signs down at the park that tell people to socially distance or the rules, those came to us with no cost. If you're in the town office building, you see all the stickies on the floor that tell you where to stand, stay 6 feet apart. Those were afforded to this town without any cost to us. So they did not only did they not increase their fees, but in this fiscal year, you'll see Donna has shown you how much we've expended so far. That should be all of it, Donna, is that correct? CCM returned half of our dues back to towns and municipalities this year.
Yes, that's correct.
So we have put out all that we're going to put out. They refunded some of those dues. So, again, they're always a resource for us in research and advocating. So it's not something I would suggest we not participate in currently. In advertising, some years I might have said to you, we need more advertising. You just never know. We haven't had a lot of town meetings, so there hasn't been a need this year. And if that change with how we have to advertise things in a newspaper changes, then we may be able to get away with less fund in there going forward. There's still monies for Memorial Day and the car show, hoping that we can have some sort of functions again in 2021. Keeping my fingers crossed. It's not much, but if we can do something community-wide, we will move forward with that. All right. Questions, comments? Those were the only items on this meeting's agenda.
okay,
ladies and gentlemen. So if Mr. Mueller, I know, is still on the line listening with us, once we hear all of our budgets and Donna's able to put together a first run at budget so we can see where we stand as our selectmen's budget as a whole, then we'll start talking about whether or not we need to make cuts and want to make cuts somewhere before we send it. So you could continue to follow the conversation in our future budget meetings, and we have one next Monday at 6:30. All right. So if there's no other comments on the budgets, I would move to adjourn at 6:11 p.m.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
You will have to, let me find the record button. Do you want to?